Here we go, episode 147 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. This is our opportunity every week to come together to grow, scale, and build our junk removal dreams. I'm Andy Weins, owner of Camo Crew Responsible Junk Removal here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And today I have Dan Beals from Dan's Holloway, longtime listener, sometimes commentator, first time ever meeting the guy. And as always, let's start things off light. Why are you here today, Dan?
What's going on, Andy? Well, I have been watching your podcast for a little while, and I got to say, I really enjoy what you kind of talk about. I think you guys are, pretty positive, and you put out some pretty good information, and I thought I'd help contribute by hopping on here.
All right, well, let's talk about your origin story. Why are you in junk removal? I had an ex-girlfriend years ago. She always was like, why do people do this? Like, why do people get into this? And I grew up dumpster diving, so that's like, I got t-shirts and shit made. So that's
Yep.
why it's like, because this is what I love doing. My great-grandfather, it's in my blood, da da da. So why is it, or how is it you got into this industry?
Well, I kind of fell into this industry. I had another business beforehand, and it kind of fell apart once COVID started. I had to start over fresh. And then I looked into this. I originally started as just junk removal. I had like a handyman business. I was doing like Toro, renting vehicles, pretty much anything I could do to try to like make some money. But after doing all those things for a good year, I was like, all right, I need to pick one and then kind of really move forward with that. But at that time, I had changed from junk removal to being specializing in furniture. And I saw a lot of potential in just doing that. So I just went all in. And, I specialize specifically in furniture removal and downsizing. So we, take all just like household goods essentially. And then the goal is to try to find it a new home. So that's just what I've been building on. And I'm just continually trying to keep on stacking it and scale it as I go.
So you do traditional junk removal also in addition? So only decent stuff theoretically?
It's probably easier to tell you what I don't take.
Yeah, let's
Um,
talk about
so
that.
I I don't do pianos or pool tables. They're just too big and heavy for us. I don't want to deal with it. I
Yep.
don't deal with appliances, and I don't deal with general trash. So pretty much everything else that's in your house. So furniture, household goods, your artwork, your lamps, rugs, mattresses, dishware, clothes. Typically everything that's in your house, you could probably find a new home for. Now it's not 100%. We can only save about 70% of what we come across, but that's still a big number.
Absolutely. Okay, so that makes sense. What kind of equipment do you use to run that? Do you use traditional dump trucks or using box trucks then?
Yeah, so weatherproof. That's the whole objective there. So
Mm.
we are using box trucks. I use 20 footers. It's not too big. It's not too small. I can operate in and out of these neighborhoods and downtown areas pretty smoothly. But the box trucks make it super easy to where we can keep everything protected.
And what's your metropolitan area? Where do you serve?
Man, so we cover all the Denver metro area. Like, I don't know if you know anything about Colorado, but basically the only thing that's there is Denver.
Yeah, no, I was in Denver a couple weeks ago, so I had dinner with two of your, I'll call them competitors for shits and giggles, um, out there. So Junk Wranglers, Brooke, and then Q Hall, Eric with a Q.
Yeah,
So
I
she's
know
out
Eric.
in so she's out in Golden. She's out west, and he is, where is he? He's near Aurora. I could be totally misspeaking. I know where he is in the map compared to where he dropped me off and where we had dinner. That's the extent
Yeah.
of it. So, all right. So you're in that same market. Where are you? Are you in Denver proper? Or are you also? I had a business in Denver, a franchise out of Centennial area. So I kind of know that, not extremely. Where the hell did
On
I
the
say?
southeast Aurora side, so I'm in the southeast portion of the Denver metro area.
Yep.
We have one like big, I guess, highway that goes all the way around, and
Yep.
I cover everything that's within that highway.
The circle. You cover the. So I always talk about this when I was building franchises across the country. I always talked about the donut. So every major metropolitan city has a donut. Now, like Wisconsin, because we're up against the lake, the donut is like cut off, right? But and then there's a circle. And so I always talk about you have your urban, suburban, and then your rural area. And historically, I've done my best work in the meat part of the donut, which is the suburban area or near suburban, versus the downtown metropolitan, more business entertainment district, more more apartments and condos. Historically, we haven't done a lot of work there. So it's the the donut. So with you, Denver conveniently has no major lakes. I mean, you have some big ass mountains over there that kind of stop you from going west at some point.
Yeah.
In the donut, do you see certain areas where there's more density of work, whether it's the center, the meaty part, or the outside, or what does that look like for your metropolitan area?
Yeah, so suburban areas are by far our most popular. We're all around those areas. We do go into Denver and the downtown portion, but it's in comparison to all the suburb areas, it's pretty
Yeah.
rare. It might be like one job that's there compared to the 12 that we're doing that day. So it's we cover all those major areas around town, just to make it easy and convenient for our community here.
So yeah, so the donut methodology again still holds true. Uh,
Yep.
Again, when you're looking at the whole, the donut. I remember I had a guy on, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. He was outside of Charlotte, like 45 minutes west of Charlotte, and he was talking about how do I get into Charlotte, and I'm like, don't get into Charlotte. Like when you're so far out, like when you're a small town and create little donuts along the way, if you will, right? Like
Mhm.
when you're a small town before you jump into the big city when you're that far out. Sounds like you're already in the metropolitan area. Your spot like within a suburban loop per se.
Yeah, I'm just at the bottom, like, if you had like my screen right here, I'm
Yeah,
just in this bottom little area here. So we
gotcha.
just go around and cover everything in the area. Now, the center where my face is obviously Denver
Yeah.
itself, but we just all around there. I don't really see like one city more than the other. I definitely have popular areas, but it's all of it. It's all
Yeah.
around.
And so
Yeah.
how did you go from these couple different businesses to even doing traditional junk removal to now focus on reusable, reclaimable items, less of the trash and the yard waste, or even it's interesting you don't take appliances. I find that interesting. So how
Yeah.
did you niche down to those items in particular?
Well, I have a background in furniture. So I came
Mm,
from a furniture store and I worked there for almost a decade. And I seen people like try to do this periodically over time, but no one ever did it consistently. No one ever did it good. It was never anything like, spectacular. And then once I got fired and then I just kind of had to do my own thing, um, obviously it started with just junk removal, but I had a buddy of mine. He moved from that furniture store to another high-end spot, and he called me one day and he was like, "Hey man, do you want to pick up furniture for my clients?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And I just started with that one store, and then I did that for a year. And at the end of that year, I was like, I just go to this one store and check in every once in a while, and I get multiple jobs a week from just that one store of recommendations. What would happen if I went to all 50 stores? So I just started going boom, 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 and just started going to all the stores around town. And then now I just niche in that furniture realm. You find it interesting. I don't take appliances. So my experience with appliances is like 99% of them are broken.
mhm.
So I don't want to deal with it. Like they're always in messed up
Yeah.
areas. They're super heavy. You need to have straps a lot of times and like nice equipment, which we do carry. It's just that it's so easy just knowing furniture. So easy. Furniture, furniture, furniture. Easy.
Oh no, I fucking love this, right? I talk about arithmetic, right? Addition,
Hmm.
subtraction, multiplication, division. There's four
Hmm.
basic principles, and as I'm writing my next book now, numbers fucking matter, where I focus on what it's like to lean into your data as a small business owner. I often
Yeah.
will refer that there of the four functions, two of them are far superior than the other two. So what you did is you're multiplying, right? To add is twice as much work, and there's not a guaranteed result, right? One
Hmm.
plus one is two, right? One plus two is three, right? As you add, you still have to add a whole one. While what you did is you went from one and multiplied by 50. Like, hey, one store works. Let's multiply by 50 like that, one function, versus let me go add 10 other lead sources, right? So you
Hmm.
niche down so much where you're like, hey, I'm going to get all my work from networking. I call what I call networking, right? Because referral is like
Yep.
previous customers, right? So for
Yep.
train of thought here, you're like, I'm going to do networking. So I'm going to do the cold calling within networking, and I'm only going to cold call onto furniture stores.
Yep.
Awesome, right? So often people are like, "Oh, you can't choose your customers." You can.
Sure
You can
can.
choose. You can choose what zip codes you market to. You can choose what negative keywords. So you're like, "Yeah, I don't do pool tables. pianos. I imagine you don't do hot tubs either, right? In that same
Nope.
realm. Okay,
Yep.
so and you have the abundance mindset as, hey, I'm going to be the number one guy. I'm not even the number one guy. I'm going to be the only choice, not the best choice. I'm going to be the only choice in Denver furniture stores for furniture removal, and big enough population. You obviously have been successful. So how big is your operation by niching down that much?
Yeah, so currently I have a crew of five. I have two trucks that run full time around Denver. And then we're looking to expand into a third truck going into these next couple months here. It's just getting bigger and bigger. It's crazy. Just people want furniture removed, and then the niche of it of people wanting not wanting it to end up in the trash. That's another selling point there. But we're the professionals, so like you can dude, I just called some of my competition over the past few days, and some of them are really good, and then some are, not so good. One guy, so I'm currently hiring. I'm down to four, so I need to get them back to five. And somebody called me, and they were like, "Hey, I got referred to you by another junk removal business." And I found that kind of interesting. I was like, one, how did they know I was hiring? And then two, why would they refer a future employee to me? So I called that guy and I was just like, hey, hey, you sent me a guy, like what's going on? How'd you hear about me? Whatever. And then this guy was so rude. Like he like one answered the phone, like, whatever. And then when I started talking to him, like he was just like, yeah, I hung up on the guy. And then like I was like, oh, cool. Well, tell me about you. And then click, he hung up on me. And I was like, all right, man. Well, I can see you're not competition, that's for sure.
Well, that's the thing,
But
and that's why I literally brought up two of your competitors in the market. I know them personally. I had dinner with them a couple weeks ago. Actually, they've both been on the podcast, right? And it's like, well, there's two ways to treat them, right? I also know me. The more shit you talk about me, the harder I'm going to go to put your business out of business, right? I'm gonna like I used to. I haven't. I don't say this nearly as much as I used to. My first couple of years in business, I was a very spiteful individual, and every time someone would piss me off, I'm like, I'm just going to burn their business to the ground. I will work so fucking hard they go away. And
yeah.
about a year ago, yeah, a little over a year ago, I found out my business partner at the time was soliciting to do his own junk removal. So we had a very short exit interview with that situation. And at first, I'm like, man, I just want to put him out of fucking business. I was so angry, and I go, you know what, fuck
Hmm.
that. Every ounce of energy I spend thinking about him is a waste of my fucking time. Instead,
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on being so great at what we do. Whether he succeeds or fail has nothing to do with me, because at the end of the day, I gain nothing from his failure. I gain everything from my own success. So that was a mindset shift I had at
Hmm.
the time. And so for other junk removal companies, the Chuck and the Trucks, I've met Chuck and the Trucks. They're awesome, super professional. They're just like, yep, it's me. I'm going to bang it out. I do me. I know where I serve, right? And then I meet other ones
Yep.
where they flip me off. I had a guy flip me off last week. Standard scrapper pickup truck, utility trailer, and he flipped me off because, well, I was in a cyber truck. He told me I was a piece of shit. Because I was like, I wasn't sure if he was waving or flipping me off. I pulled up next to him. I was like, hey man, what's up? He goes, fuck you, your bullshit truck and your bullshit company. I was like, all right, man, cool. And I just like got on the
Yeah.
freeway. And then I called my
Yeah.
business partner. I have a great business partner now. I called him. His name's Andrew Crum. He was on the show last week, 2 weeks ago. Last week we did like 3 episodes last week because it was a funky week. Um, and I was like, I just have to tell someone this. I told him. He goes, gross. I go, yeah, that was gross.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I get flipped off. I got flipped off yesterday in the cyber truck too. A lot of people want to flip me off in it, which is, I think, is great. Fine.
To you
I
for that power for that Cybertruck. It's like a walking billboard.
Well,
So
exactly. And if you hate me, I make it simpler for you to tell me that you hate me before you even know me, right? Like super
yeah.
convenient. And to that end, my business partner owned a junk removal company here in Milwaukee, Junk Badger Junk Removal. I saw him. I remember it was probably about this time last year, February, March. I saw him on the freeway, very similar spot to where I got flipped off yesterday or 2 days ago. And it was yesterday. Anyhow, I drove past him. I saw him. He's like in the middle lane, and I was in my Jeep at the time, so I just blew past him on the left lane. And in my head, I'm like, "Fuck that guy." You know what? I'm gonna show him what right looks like. But I didn't say anything. I didn't flip him off. I did nothing. I was like, "We're good." And like a month later,
Yeah.
he called me asking how to do a project, and we were totally cool and amicable. And I brought that up. I was like, I saw you last month on the freeway." He goes, "Oh, I saw you." He goes, "Seemed like you sped up a little bit when you passed me." I go, "Oh yeah, I gotta let you know who the big dog is in town." And we
That's
laughed about it. I was
funny.
like, who the fuck am I,
Yeah.
right? But we had a good time. It's like I want a little healthy competition, you know.
Yep.
And it turned out now we're business partners, and it made more sense for us to collaborate and come together than it did for us to compete. Again, because I maintain that healthy relationship. It's like competition, good. I'm not looking for conflict. And when people want to have
Yeah.
conflict with me, great. Um, 3 blocks from our shop right here is like the best gas station around. Almost every time I pull in there, 2 minute truck guys are there because they're right down the street. Right, they do junk removal now. There's another moving company, Anchor Moving is nearby. There's 3 or 4 other junk removal companies that put their yard signs at the gas station, and our guys fill up there every day. It's like you want to have a pissing match, or you just want to be like, hey, what's up, and just move on with your day, right?
Yeah.
It's a total choice, you know. I love what you're doing because you found your thing, and you're like, yep, this is the thing we do, and
Yep.
y'all can have the appliances, y'all can have the hot tubs and pool tables, y'all can have the hoarding houses or cleanouts. Cool. And now it gives you an opportunity to even refer that type of work. Hey, that's not what we do. Here's someone that's local. I also trust they have a wider range. Maybe they have a smaller geographic footprint or a wider range, or and a wider range of what they take. So now you can be
Yep.
collaborative. Um, I love what you're doing out there. Again, I knew nothing, as everybody knows that's been on the show before. My research is how do you say your last name, and I hit go. Even the last 2 weeks as I've been plugging you, I go, yeah, Dan's Holloway. He's a listener. He's going to be on the show. We're going to talk. Like that's it. I that's the level of research I do because I want us to learn together. I love
Yep.
also the fact that you use what you call weatherproof, essentially box trucks, right? Because that's completely different. You look more like removal services than junk removal. How do your customers respond? Do they recognize the difference from the box trucks and your branding, or do you have to explain how you guys do different being a Holloway company versus a junk removal company?
Yeah, so most of my customers don't call about junk in the first place. I
Good.
think that our branding and our marketing really sets us apart and really displays what we do rather than just being an overall junk service. But to your point, I just refer out. I turn down so much business. I'm always turning down the appliances or the pool table or this and that. And I have these great resources around town, which make me look great because that customer came to me and I said no and looked professional. And I gave them a great referral and even looked even better. So, I just try to, uh, just be a great service for the community overall. But the box truck, it really makes it so much easier because it shows that we're going to be taking care of the stuff rather than showing up and it's a snow day like today and everything is just like being snowed on all day. It just there's nothing you can do about destroying it, and it doesn't say that message to the customer. That's for sure.
Oh no, I love it, and you found what you're good at. And again, you're
Mhm.
one. I would say you're one deviation from junk removal, right? Being a Holloway service that focuses on appliance or focuses on furniture and housewares, and you can also control the type of material you bring in and your recovery rates. So who do you partner with to keep 70% of the material out of the landfill? Who are you working with to make that happen?
So I work with a lot of different things here. So I've experimented with different aspects of like resale, but I tell all of my customers we fix, clean, donate, resell. I don't guarantee one way or another what happens to it, but one of those ways is going to happen to try to keep it out of the trash.
Yep.
But most of the stuff we do is donating. I have a partnership with our local donation center, ARC. We donate to them almost on a daily basis. I work with some local charities. They graduate people out of homelessness. They send us like a wish list. We'll fulfill an entire household. We go and deliver it directly to them. I work with fix and flippers, auction houses. I sell things individually, all sorts of stuff that to keep it out of the trash. But those are the main aspects that I use on a daily basis. So like it's all about systems, really. So I don't just like randomly go to the dump. I don't just randomly go and donate. I try to make it as full of the truck as possible. That way, it is always being streamlined and make it as easy as possible for my teams and my clients.
So who are I mean, do you work with the big boys like the Habitat Humanities and Goodwills, or also how many kids you got running around out there? You got a bunch of
Oh,
kids.
dude, I got two young ones, and I don't know what it is, but they got a 4-day weekend, so they're here. But yeah, it's just, I don't understand. Yesterday I understood, but today I don't. But you know, I do work with some of those big donation centers, but I work with a local one mostly. I find that a lot of these donation centers aren't really they don't really want a lot of furniture. It's kind of interesting. So I had to really find and do a lot of research in finding the right stores to go to and then add them into my routes. So like my teams, they all have like a big laminated paper with a map, and it has all of the ones that we go to plotted. So no
Yeah.
matter where they're at on the city, they can be like, all right, we need to stop and donate, and they can quickly, make a little stop and then clear up some space and such.
I love that. I know where they all are in my head, and I know I can Google
Mhm.
it. Having a laminated no shit. Here's all the things, so you can just quick look at a map versus trying to Google something. I've
Mhm.
never done that. I'm going to steal that from you, 100%. Again, this is my hour of research every day. This is when one teaches, two people learn, and so this is for me. My podcast I do. I learn something new every week. There's something I take away every single week from what we're doing. What you're saying about reach out to furniture stores. We already do that. And this time of year is a great time of year for furniture stores because people are getting their tax refunds. And so and
Yep.
also they're also inside, right? In the middle of summer, you're not like, I need a new couch, you know? Uh, right. After you had people over for the Super Bowl, you're like, our furniture sucks, right? Like this is the time of year that you want to replace your furniture, right? So that's a continue thing, right? Start, stop, continue methodology of change. That's a continue. Start though. I'm going to make these maps because it's real simple. I would put, for us, we also have a couple transfer stations we utilize, and not always do the guys know where the best ones are. And it's like you might have one
Mhm.
that's closer to you, and yet there's a better one depending on where your next job is. So if you can see a physical map, and I've got away from physical maps as we become more and more paper. We've been paperless for years on our processes. However, that's not exactly a paper thing because we're not hand jamming it. It's a training aid. I'm going to steal that from you.
Yep.
Also, I
Yep.
learned this recently. This is not me. This is 100% copy and paste from somebody else. My business partner told me about this. Systems. So, systems is an acronym for
Mm.
save yourself some time, energy, money. So, there you go.
Mm.
Systems, save yourself some time, energy, money. And the actual one is save yourself time, energy, money. And I'm like, what are we doing with the second S? We're just going to not even acknowledge it's there. So I added the word some, little spice, little hey, how are you? So save yourself some time, energy, and money. That's what a system is. Um, and what I love about what you're saying is you're also giving your guys the autonomy in the field to make decisions. So you're not spending all day redispatching, micromanaging, babysitting. Right, you're taking the time. Well, what is it you do? Actually, let's figure it out. Are you answering the phone still? Are you out networking? What is it you do all day now that you got two trucks running, making you money?
So I'm the back end. So I like manage everything. I do all the phone calls. I do all of that stuff. I
Yep.
have an assistant that usually helps me with a lot of this back end and reach outs also.
Yep.
But because I'm down a guy, he's on the trucks. So
Yeah.
it's just another line of defense to keep me off the trucks here. But like this is like but as we work out of my house, like this is like my
Yep.
vision board here that I just like
Nice.
put all my stuff on that we work on. But just overall, I try to make myself available for my clients and the growth of the company. So just like that map that I put out there, like it's very easy to look to Google a donation center, but then you go to it and it's a small one. They don't accept it, or they don't do this, they don't do that. And then the trash cans, we use one specific dump, but then I have two other options on there
Yep.
as, just in cases and stuff like that
Yep.
when that one's closed. Just so that my guys are all streamlined and they make it super easy on them. But I do try to give them a lot of freedom to where they can make those decisions as long as they're staying within their windows. That's the big appropriate thing there.
Yeah. One of the things we talk about with our company all the time is guidelines, not rules. Rules are
Hmm.
hard and stiff. Guidelines are, hey, go where it makes sense. As a guideline, like, hey, you have the autonomy to make it make sense. Let them
Mhm.
figure out what makes sense versus you will, you shall, you will always kind of mindset. And as you scale, that's the key. The other thing I find
Yep.
interesting with you is as you're talking about your ratios here, this is something people often ask me, and we're in the middle of this right now as we're scaling our company, is what is the ratio of office staff or non-revenue generating producing individuals versus trucks? And in my perfect world, it's like 3 to 1. There's 3 trucks for every one office person after you remove yourself, right? Because at first you are the person, and eventually being the integrator and visionary is that's the thing, right? And so right now you're at like a 2 to 1 ratio. And what ends up happening when people get to, and this is where you're going, the 3-4, what ends up happening is you end up getting to like a 1 to 1 ratio to get to like 4 or 5 trucks. That's why a lot of companies die. They die around that two truck. They can get to 2 trucks a half million with ease. That's kind of like You get there, you can be owner centric, you can pick up the phones, go to networking, be the salesperson, and then maybe like your point, a second person that can pick up the phones. Essentially, though, essentially though, you are the person. Hold on a second. I left. Someone just dropped something off for me, so I had to say hi and bye and thanks. All right. Getting back to it. So you can scale the company with that 1-to-2 ratio, having that second person cover down on maybe
Hmm.
what it is you're not great at. Whether it's doing estimates, going to networking events, covering the phones, whatever that thing is, you can have that one person. The challenge comes once you get to that over $500,000 to go from one to or from a 500,000 to one, you end up needing 3 to 4 trucks. And now you have to start, or not have to, you get to start hiring people because being owner centric with one person answering the phone, you can get to 1 million, and yet you're going to be screaming. It's not going to be repeatable because it revolves too much around one person. So that's where cash becomes a constraint. Is when you're scaling. And I deal with this, or I work with this, as a CFO. It's like at that point, in order to get from 500,000 to 1 million, you're going to have 4 trucks with probably 3 or 4 office staff. So that means every truck has to cover the 2 guys in the truck and theoretically one whole ass office staff, someone that's going to be, somewhere between 40 to $70,000 a year. And that allows you to build that base to get to 1.5 million, and then get to that 2 million mark. The challenge is a lot of people die between a 500,000 and 1 million, or they die between 1 and 2, depending on how owner centric they are.
Interesting you say all that stuff, because I try to be as lean as possible, but at the same time I do a lot of spending. I'm doing a lot of, like, I have a videographer on staff, I have my assistant. I definitely pay for those guys for convenience for myself,
Yeah.
so I don't have to do a lot of things. But with the 2 trucks, we're hovering around that million mark right now, and I'm trying to get to 1.5, 2 million this coming
Yeah.
year. But it's looking like it's going to be 3 to 4 trucks by the end of this year.
Yeah.
But
If you can get
it's
to if
very
you get
interesting.
if you get to 1 million top line on 2 trucks, that means
Yeah,
you're maxed. I mean, those trucks are maxed. Those trucks
they're
are
maxed.
they're screaming. Yeah, yeah, you're screaming
Yeah.
down the road. And it could be also your pricing. Again, it's depending on your market. What do you charge? Like, what do you consider? How do you charge? You charge by capacity. What are your rates?
Yeah, so we have a minimum cost 195, and then we kind of work our way up from there. So if you want a recliner taken away, 195.
Okay.
If you want a sofa taken away, it's 225 or 235, depending if it reclines or not. There's added additions if it's like in the basement or upstairs and such. And then I do my quarter truckloads for larger jobs. We charge 450 per quarter, half truck 900, full truck 1800. But
How many cu-
yeah,
how many
it's
cubic yards is the 1800 though? Because you have a 20-foot truck. What is the dimensions or the cubic yardage on that?
yeah. I don't really know the yardage. I don't use it that way. I just tell them that I could fit a 3 bedroom home inside the truck, and then that's kind of my waypoint there.
Yeah.
Because we're only dealing with furniture for the most part,
Yeah.
it's easier for the customer to visualize that.
So let's just do some hillbilly math. 20-foot truck,
Hmm.
7 foot wide. What is it? NPR or is it a?
NPR, yep. So
Okay.
I have an NPR, and then I also use the 20-foot box trucks from U-Haul too.
Okay, so you got 20 footers, so they're going to be 7 foot wide. We'll call it 7 high, without killing yourself. 980 square feet divided by 27, so 36 cubic yards. So, so your pricing is actually in line with traditional junk removal companies because you're at
Yes.
about $900, let's call it, for a equivalent to 18 cubic yard junk removal truck, which Junk King uses 18s, College Hunks and 800 you got Junk uses the whatever 15 threes.
Yep.
We do everything by 16 because it's simpler math. So we have similar. We have 18-foot NPR box trucks with a 2-tier ramp gate. We only have one left.
Yep.
We had two at one point, and those were 32 cubic yards, so they're 18 foot, not 20. So yeah, I know that model, and what I love about what you said is that truck is going to sunset either this year or next. Its sister truck sunsetted last year. There's more to fix. It
Hmm.
was more to get out to DOT compliance than it was worth. So we let that one go away. And one thing we were talking about was we like the 24-foot dock height box truck, 24, 26, 8 feet wide, fucking lift gate. I'm a logistics guy. I want the biggest truck possible, you know? Um,
Yep.
and at one point, though, over the winter, we were discussing getting rid of our NPR. My business partner's like, we still need a truck that's 18 to 20 feet, that's only 7 feet wide, NPR, gas, because we have a lot of lakes near us, and 24-foot trucks, they ain't going down them roads. So there is a huge advantage, and also in very urban areas, right? Our big trucks in alleys, we're probably gonna have a trash can every now and then, you know. And so having that little bit, narrower base, not as tall, not as deep, there's absolutely huge advantage to that. So I love your business model. The other reason I love box trucks is you go to drop off half as much as a traditional junk removal company, right? So you can get to that 500 a truck because your logistics are nice and tight. The other thing is, because it's all furniture and you're not dealing with trash outs and things like that, your job speed is way up there because everything's big. It fills space faster. So
Yep.
I'm either rarely am I in love with somebody else's model. Most times I poke a hole. Even when I used to do consulting, as more of a COO or general, overall junk roll company, what I found myself doing, I kept trying to turn other people's companies into my company. Like, no, you do this and this and this because this is what works. And I realized that didn't work. Now I'm only doing the CFO work, for junk roll companies. It touches on a little bit of operations, a little bit of culture. For the most part, it's CFO work only, because from there, the financials I can make repeatable across any business. Here in your financials, I'm in love with your business. I'm in love how niche down you are. I'm in love with how you have an abundance mindset. And most of all, I love your 70% recovery rate using box trucks, because again, this is, as we build this industry, I want us collectively to be more focused on haul away, removal services, whatever those words are that aren't junk removal, because that is the mindset for us to be more professional, more sustainable, more accepted, and then we distance ourselves from the traditional big waste companies that have a bad rap, and they have a bad rap for a good reason. Um,
Yep.
they take less stuff, they fill the landfill every day, they get paid to put tons in the landfill. That's how it works. The
Yep.
states and the federal government pay them to fill landfills because it's cheap and easy. And so how do we differentiate from the bagsters of the world, right? Well, it's about being responsible. And what you're doing, Dan's Holloway is a responsible company, right? One of the things I'm looking into this year is, uh, uh, I've talked this with a couple people, like a certification program eventually for our industry, right? That says like, hey, we
Hmm.
do things in such a way, right? It's a pledge. It's a fucking, a look at the operation, because the big franchises have it. Like Junk Luggers, for example, they have the processes. Junk King has the processes that they hold their franchises accountable to. Uh, I'm not sure about Big Blue. I would say no. And I know College Hunks does not have one, because I had an operator here on the show at one point. So, how do we come up with a certification program in the industry where we can highlight those of us that are doing things right and sustainable and professional versus the, you know, dumping chemicals, electronics and whatever they can in the landfill? That's interesting. Here we go. We got a question here real quick from Wesley. Dan, have you gotten away from junk removal altogether since you focus on furniture? If so, are you referring jobs out to other local companies? You hit on this earlier in the show, but yeah, let's answer it for Wesley. Wesley,
Yeah. Yeah.
never heard? Do you know Wesley? I don't know Wesley. Wesley, hey,
I don't know Wesley, but thanks for the question, man. Hey,
yeah.
I don't take junk. So like, if you're doing twigs on the side of your house, I'm not taking it. If there's like bed bugs, I'm not taking it. If it's like regular trash that goes in your trash cans, like I'm not taking it. There's just no point of me making a mess in my trucks for no reason, or contaminating things. But I refer out a lot of business. So I have specific businesses that I use, that I have in my, like, in my phone book here, and I essentially refer them out over and over and over again, to make it super easy. But
And you know what?
I do
That's
want.
also good. That's also good too. Now, do you ever get people that refer work to you because customers are looking for a more sustainable solution, or is it a one-way
That
street?
is that is the key question there, sir. It is a one-way street. I can tell you that.
I,
So, um,
philanthropically, I'm like, oh, this is great. Everybody's no, they're
yeah,
probably
no
not going
one
to happen.
refers me to anything. So, like, from what I even ask these questions in the junk groups, like, how often do you turn down business? How often do you refer things out? And, I look at junk removal as Walmart. everybody wants to do everything. They don't want to turn anything down. They want to demo. They want to take your tree limbs. They want to take your entire household. They want to do everything. But to me, that doesn't make sense, because how can I make a consistent pricing scale if I can't even price it over the phone? I'm not a big fan of doing pricing on the spot, because I feel like there's a lot of high pressure there. Customer think in their head, they're like, it's gonna be $200, and then you tell them it's seven, and then now they're angry and they're just like, get it the hell out of here. Like, I'm not a particular fan of that. So I like being able to give all of my pricing over the phone, and working with one consistent mean there. It makes it so much easier to understand. All I need to do is just ask where it is in the house. I just need to know if it needs to be taken apart or if it's multiple pieces. And then now I can have a big understanding of everything, and I can give you an accurate quote, whether it's right on the money price or just a scale that they're going to fall in between. But usually we're pretty accurate in that sense.
And then we got, well, here we go. Wesley's loaded question. I like it. You never know until you ask. He's in Longmont, wherever that is. So, hey, he wants you to send opportunities to Boulder his way. So, Wesley, hit up Dan, get him your contact info. And Wesley, that makes sense. I like the idea of focusing on niche. Wesley, what's your company? I've never heard this guy, but I don't know who Wesley is, unless Taylor can tell me and keep me honest if he's commented
Yep,
before.
dude.
Also,
I,
actually,
I
randomly, so last night I was talking to my girlfriend about going to Red Rocks because I bought tickets this morning for Lumineers. Huge fan of Lumineers. They're coming to Milwaukee July 5th. I'm randomly plugging the Lumineers like they need me to fucking plug them. So, yeah, if you're in Milwaukee July 5th in the pit of the Marcus Amphitheater, I'll be there. Well, they call it, this is bullshit. American Family has bought out all the naming rights to all the good places. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's still the Marcus Amphitheater and still Miller Park. Fight me if you want to. All right, Longmont junk removal. There you go. There's a referral source. See, we're doing business here. We're creating connections. We're introducing people in the same market to each other that otherwise had not heard of each other, or maybe heard of each other and didn't know where to start. So there you go. So Dan, you got a new fan there. Longmont junk hall. I've never heard that junk hall. I like that.
but
Little nuancically different. Also, so what I'm getting to a point here with Red Rocks. I work with Brooke out there. I had dinner with Q and Brooke a couple weeks ago. Now I know you. Now I know Wesley. So let me look at Red Rock's schedule and find a reason to come to Denver, and we will do a impromptu junk removal meetup. You guys drink cocktails. I'll have decaf coffee. Everybody will be happy. Maybe that's
sounds great.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down, dude. I love meeting new
I'm just,
business owners. That's great.
yeah. I'm looking for a reason to go to Red Rocks. Never been at Red Rocks. So
It's beautiful, man. I was just there just a couple months ago. Whether it was just exercising or a concert, I just like going up there. It's pretty cool.
yeah, I'm not going to go all the way there to exercise. Let's be honest. I would go there. Got to see a show. The world famous. Yeah, actually, Mumford. Yeah, Mumford did a live album, or at least live songs from Red Rocks, and it was great. I got to imagine Lumineers, being from Denver also, or not from New Jersey, but went to Denver. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. So now you know, right? It's, football season's over. No more banter
Mhm.
with Casey Bubba Lawrence about Packers Cowboys. So it's concert season. I'm going to the Killers. I'm going to Lumineers. Next week I'm going to Dropkick Murphy. So anybody that want to know
Oh,
what
I
my
love
social
them.
anybody that wants to know my social life is, there's my social life. It is I go to concerts at like 10 a.m. this morning, pre-sale. Like, I'm that guy. So one thing I spend real money on. Here we
That's
go. Oh,
funny.
Wesley said he wants to handle my operation. Here's the deal, Wesley. This goes for you, Wesley. This goes for Dan. This goes for anybody. You tell me when you're in Milwaukee, and I will give you a tour. Maybe we'll get lunch. Maybe we'll get dinner. Maybe we'll hang out. I might do another recycling weekend this year. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I love to show people recycling. So again, we're slowly building. What does this industry become? And I love to use our location here as the flagship of what you're capable of. So with you, actually, that brings up a good point. I really appreciate Wesley chiming in here, getting my brain turning. So you run the business out of your house. So do you have storage units, a garage? How do you keep excess furniture when people aren't taking it at the right time?
Yep. So home base is my house. And then we have some storage units that are just like 5 minutes away, and that's where our other operation is. So I have five storage units that we move in and out of. So one of them is specifically a trash unit. We'll fill that thing up and then fill up our truck all at one stop. And then the other four are for donations. So whether it's like a mattress unit specifically, or this one is going to like to families, this one's going to just donations or just overflow.
Right.
It gives me flexibility to be able to maneuver. So like I was saying earlier with systems, like I do the same thing over and over every day. So like today, everything that we're taking, we sort through tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, we go through it all, say, hey, this is junk, this is going to a family, this is going to the donation center, and then we load up the trucks accordingly, and then they go and do whatever it is they're doing, whether it's a donation or a dump run, and then they go and take off and do all the jobs for the day. So it's very consistent and easy structure there.
I love unloading. Yeah, so we always unload at night, and there's Tuesday morning we do Tuesday morning training, and so a lot of times we'll carry trucks over Monday night because it makes more sense to sort them after training and then take and block off a truck to go right to Habitat or Goodwill. Um,
Mhm.
Tuesday mornings when we have material, it's less handling. Also, at the end of the day, guys are less inclined to do the right thing or to take their time because they're tired and they're all this other stuff. So knowing that, hey, our day's going to start by unloading and sorting, that can be huge. Actually, as of yesterday, we hired our new logistics person, and they'll be overseeing the warehouse because the warehouse has been kind of by committee
Mhm.
since I took back over the last 3 years. And so now we're at a point where we have a full-time person that will handle warehouse and dispatch, wherein it was more handled by our service manager was more on the warehouse, and our operations manager handled the dispatch and a little bit of the warehouse. Now we have a person that's their job. So whether it's shipping
Yeah.
loads out, unloading, sorting, cleaning, we use 5S methodology, which I'm going to look this up real quick because this is new to us. 5S, my business partner brought up to me. So the 5S methodology is sorting, setting in order, shining, standardizing, and sustaining. So that's something that we are rolling out into our business. I'm really excited about it because it's all the things we do, and it's more systematic, like what you said, right? Keep it in a system. You have five storage units. This is the mattress room. This is we got a whole ass room, like 1,000 square feet room in our warehouse. It's called the mattress room.
Yeah.
Anything other than mattresses, don't go in there, right? And of course, I go back there and I see shit. And I'm like, what are we doing? This is the mattress room.
Yeah.
Like this is the easiest room to figure out. Um,
Right.
and for you to have a room that's just for what I call MSW, municipal solid waste, trash, landfill stuff, right? Because again, when you have a system, it's followed by all. Now we're not guessing, and that's one of the challenges we have in junk removal. Is people are often, well, I don't know what's coming in every day. It's like, well, you can still develop a system for all the variables. I have 20,000 square feet here in our warehouse, and we handle every single type of material because we do take it all. There's nothing in houses that we don't take outside of hazardous waste, paint stains, chemicals. And so because of that, we have a system for everything. Um, and there's room for improvement to continually develop our systems because as we take on different types of clients, the type of material we have coming back changes over time. So for you reduce that by reducing on the front end what you even take in the first place, which I love that.
Yeah, I want to hear more about your operation here. So, you guys are a pretty big operation to be in a 20,000 square foot warehouse. How many trucks do you guys run? Are you guys like dumpsters and dump trucks? Like, what do you guys do?
So I don't no dumpsters. So what we run is we run trucks in tandem. So we started doing this 3 years ago when I took back over junk removal. So perspective wise, we started in backyard, northwest side of Milwaukee, house with a garage. And from day one, it was all about scrapping and recycling, metal recycling, ferrous, non-ferrous. That's my world. That's my jam. And then it became donations, and then we would have resale, and then we had electronics. Like, oh, we can't take them to the scrapyard or the landfill. What do we do now? Right. So we developed those processes and systems. So we have our building in total is 27,000 square feet. We use 20,000 of it. I got between operations and or 20,000 of warehouse, and then 7,000 of office space. And my brother has his art studio here. And then we're on 2 acres, a little over 2 acres, 2.25 acres. So we have In total, we own 14 vehicles. We'll have 16 here in a matter of weeks. And the way we run our operation is we run trucks in tandem. That's what I was talking about. So we run a 24 or 26-foot box truck in tandem with a 24 cubic yard dump truck. So it's equivalent to one and a
Mm,
half trailers. So theoretically, you can fit 4 trailers of material into a 26-foot box truck. It's almost as same dimensions. It's narrower than a dumpster, but slightly wider, longer than a dumpster. Dumpsters are 8 by 8 by 20, and obviously we can't fill it from the top. So math says, right, it's as big as a 40 cubic yard dumpster. We can fit a
mm,
little bit more than that. So we price that at basically 3 trailers, 48 cubic yards, and there's a little wiggle room there. We have lines in the truck, and then we also run a dump truck with it. So if I can fit 3 in that truck, 1.5 in my dump truck, I know I can go bang 4.5 trailers a day and never have to come back to the warehouse. And so what we do there, the other thing we do there is when we're doing larger projects like a hoarding house, like today, we're right now today, we're finishing a 6 trailer, we got a 1.5 trailer and a 14 trailer all going on. And so what we can do there is we can go there, like the 14 trailer, for example, we have 2 dump trucks there and a box truck. So everything that comes back to the warehouse goes in the box trucks. That's
mm.
electronics, clothes, furniture that can be donated. Everything goes on that truck. One dump truck is dedicated to ferrous metal. So, anything with iron properties, and one dump truck is dedicated to MSW. And once the dump truck, fills up with scrap, ferrous metal, and goes hit the scrapyard and come back, maybe it'll then go to MSW the rest of the way. And so those trucks can take off and leave. One person hit the transfer station or whatever's nearby, come back, and then reset. 14 trailer job. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of MSW because it's not a hoarding situation. It's a very lived in house.
Yeah.
And so for that, we have a lot of flexibility. The other thing we can do is because we run in tandem, we can build in, if we have a lot of MSW as we're going, we can have our dump truck break off midday, hit a transfer station, and then meet them at, the next job or 2 jobs later, depending on what the schedule is. And so it gives us a lot of flexibility. Now, the downside is we send 2 or 3 guys out with 2 trucks. So it ties up our trucks. So we put more trucks on the road. The thing is, they're not putting as many, they're running in tandem and they can do a lot more jobs, but they're not putting as many miles on because they're not going back and forth. Back when we had truck and trailer, I mean, guys were back here at 10:30 every day unloading because that's what they had to do to get to the next job. And so we really like the way we run that model. So right now, I said we have 14 trucks, 16 in the field. 4 of them are manager vehicles. 2 of them are backups. So we have 8 vehicles that are primary. So that's 4 box trucks, 3 dump trucks, and a pickup truck with a dump trailer. So those are our 8 primary vehicles. We'll have 10 this summer, and we'll run. Last summer we were running 7 or 8 trucks a day, 80% of the time for 4 month period. Well, I'd say
Yeah.
4 to 5 months because July sucked ass last year. So June, our season really kicks off mid May is when we really are slamming. So May, June, August, September, and even going into October, depending on what large projects we have, we're running between 6 and 8 trucks a day every day. And this year we'll run
And
between 8 and 10 trucks. So it's essentially, we'll call it 5 schedules. We call them schedules. So we'll have 5 schedules
mhm.
running, and the goal that each schedule does between 3 to 4 trailers. So this summer, our goal is right at 20 trailers a day, um, in combination, and
Yeah.
that's how we bang jobs.
So now you're in tandem. So that means that 2 trucks are going to one job.
Yep,
So like, is this meant to be like, this truck is 100% trash, and then this truck we're sending back to the warehouse. It's going to be
yep,
donated. This is going to be this.
yep.
So you don't intermingle. It's like you have the both there, and then when somebody fills up, somebody can break off, and then the other one can continue on, and then just meet up.
Yeah, and
That's
so
very
so for
interesting.
some yeah, so we also keep garbage cans on the box trucks. So there are times where it's like the last little bit of MSW, doesn't fit on the dump truck. So yeah, you put it in garbage cans, on the ass end of the box truck, and it's the first thing to come off. Also,
Mhm.
ideally for us, we're not bringing everything back to the warehouse. Our ideal routes are done between 2:30 and 3 o'clock, and so we can get to Habitat, Goodwill, Salvation Army, local charity, whomever. Like we whoever's closest, that's where we go, right? We
Yep.
have a great relationship with Habitat. So Habitat also comes to our warehouse once a week. So all
Mm.
the all the furniture we have here, they come here and pick it up, which is super convenient. The reason we like Goodwill in particular is Goodwill, the amazing. So Goodwill's a franchise. So is Habitat. They're they're all franchises. I don't know about Salvation Army, maybe not, but I know Habitat and Goodwill are. Um, Amazing Goodwill, which is the Northern Chicago or Northern Illinois and Milwaukee franchise of or Goodwill. It's the largest Goodwill franchise in the country, and it has been for like forever. And so
Yeah.
one nice thing about them is they have a huge DC, so distribution center. So we can take an entire box truck of material to our local Goodwill, and they'll take all of it because if they don't use it, it's going right to their DC, and from there it'll go to the next best store. Um, we also have a Habitat. We have a Habitat near us that's like, right? We have a Habitat that's like 20 minutes away. They will take everything because they're
Yeah.
a little farther out and no one goes there. So when we're in that area, we'll go out of our way to go to that Habitat because they'll take 95% of what we want versus our local one takes like 80, 85. And so again, we're respective of our partners, and we also don't like to go too long without taking care of people because there's times where it's like, oh, we haven't been here in 6 months, and they're like, well, screw you guys. Versus like, hey, we'll go out of our way to take care of some stores because there's other times it's like, we need to get this material off our trucks. Like, we need you to take this. Like, we got jobs to do. And so, my perfect world is we go bang 4.5, 5 trailers a day in tandem. One truck goes to the transfer station. The box truck hits up Habitat Goodwill, comes back to the warehouse with non-ferrous metal, ferrous metal, electronics, and maybe some single stream recycling, cardboard, and things like that. Um, because all that material comes back here. And again, sometimes they hit scrap yards up. Sometimes, depending on how the job is going, maybe the truck in tandem only picks up scrap all day because we're not getting much MSW or we're not getting loose MSW. Like if we get furniture
Yeah.
and stuff, we'll throw in the box truck if we can use the dump truck for scrap. Also, scrap prices in our area because I love when the scrap check comes in. Scrap prices in our area have shot up basically since the inauguration. So
Yeah. I've noticed that too.
not non-political statement. It's that. Also, here's the deal. Just being frank, when Trump put the steel tariffs in 7 years ago,
Mhm.
7, 8 years ago, it fucking killed us because all of a sudden scrap prices dropped and steel went up in price, and that's when I was building a bunch of trailers. Um, so, I respect the tariffs, I respect the office, and I roll with it. So scrap prices are up right now. Right, I'm making up for what happened in 17 and 18 when I got my ass kicked from scrap prices dropping. I also don't bank on scrap. Right, scrap is gravy. My first started in business, my entire business was only scrap. All I did was ferrous and non-ferrous metal on the side of the road. Like the fact that people would pay me go in their house, that was like a novel concept to me. So that's
I
why.
know, right? It's so
Yeah,
crazy what you can make money on. It's just you gotta do it. Whether like, we try to be a premium service because I don't really want to deal with people and their problems of like haggling with me and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I don't do any of that. I like my old ladies and people with money because they all need the help and they're willing to pay for it. They see the value. Once people start haggling with me and doing all that stuff, I'm out. I'm not dealing with your problems.
yeah. Right. So I mean, almost all your work has got to be residential. Then is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, we do a lot of like small office cleanouts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some of these bigger ones too, but I price them so high that they're just not coming to me for those big ones. But the smaller offices, just a few offices in there, I get those all the time too.
Yeah, that's about where we're at. Once it gets to a certain point, I don't know, 4,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet. There at some point, the big guys in town will take them, and they have much better systems and logistics built in. And I've bid on them, and I've been twice their price often.
Yeah,
Now they don't want to deal with the 1,500, 2,500 square foot offices or retail spaces. So get in where you fit in. Um, but about 50% of our business is commercial, 50% is residential. So I really like how you know who your customer is, right? It is suburban women that are buying new shit. Like that is they got the money to buy new shit, which means they got money to pay you to get rid of the old stuff. And again, everybody's
100%.
happy. They get new furniture. The furniture store has a place to deliver it, and you get to service them, and then you get to get it to the next best home because that couch that they don't want, somebody else does want, and chances are that's what they can afford, and it's better than what they have. Like that's the part of the philanthropic part that I look at as really important in our industry. And we even do this with like our appliances, for example. we take all those broken appliances. We got a guy that repairs them, refurbishes them, and sells them. So now he can sell appliances at $150 to $250, where new appliances start at 400 or 500. So now we're taking care of a underserved part of the community, because when your stove breaks and you don't have $500, like that's a substantial inconvenience in your life, and it's a quality of life issue. So for us, making sure we're feeding that material to the appliance repair and resale guys is really important, because they need that stock in order to take care of their community. So again, there's a price point and a pecking order and a a service for everybody, and so we could be the catalyst that delivers that material, so that other people can have like new appliances, like new furniture. That's what I really, like I said, I can normally sit here and poke holes in people's businesses, or at least I do it in my head, and I genuinely love your business model.
Appreciate it.
I'm so excited you came on and showing people there's another way of doing what we do in this industry with a different mindset, right? You have a very abundance mindset, which allows you to be selective versus the be all things to all people, or your analogy, the Walmarts of the world.
Exactly. Yeah, I like the niche. I think that there's a lot more niches out there that can be broken down. Whether you just want to get appliances, you want to specialize in hot tubs or demo. There's so many different things out there, but you just got to be willing to turn down that other business that you
Yeah.
don't want because you don't want it. And that's a pretty easy thing for me. I just say no.
Yeah, last week episode I had with Tracy down in South Carolina. He does demo of mobile homes, and he's like, that's my niche. He's like, he asked me on the show, and this will come out here. This has already been out if you're listening to these in order. He asked, he's like, what do you think I should do? I said, go all in on what you love doing. Like, go all in on that. And then if you do things that are kind of close to that, fine. So for you, you're like, I do appliances, or I do furniture, right? I don't do appliances. I don't do these things. I do furniture. Oh, I also do housewares. It's like furniture is my niche, and I'll do housewares because it's similar in the systems. While a hot tub ain't similar. A piano, a pool table is not similar enough.
Yeah.
Taylor also hit me up in the private chat here asking about what we don't take in junk removal. Yeah, we don't also mess with brush, yard waste. I don't mess with yard waste. Things that landscapers do, I don't mess with. So retaining walls, earth materials, dirt, gravel, stone, I stay away from that stuff. In addition to hazardous waste, paint stains, chemicals, and all that stuff. Wow, this hour has flown by. Great conversation. I love people that are in this industry. They're all about sustainability. So I appreciate that you are leading that charge in your way. And it came from a place of, a need, right? Get fired, try 10 different businesses. Oh, this one sounds pretty good. Find one furniture store, hit multiply by 50, and here we are. So I'm
Here we are.
excited. Here we are, right? Like, again, entrepreneurship is not a straight line. So I love hearing about your journey. I love your abundance mindset. What's been your top takeaway here from the show as we start to wrap up?
I find it interesting just hearing about different businesses. Like I'm a big thing about consistency. That's a huge, huge aspect for me. And building systems into your business, which you guys have talked about a lot too, and like how you do your systems, like those are super important. I feel like very overlooked in many businesses. Like a lot of people just like to so like just wing it by the hip. And if you can put that system in place, it's going to make it so much easier. You just need to do the same thing every single day over and over again, and then you're just going to be an expert at it. It's gonna really help your business.
No, I love that. I love your, it's the shoot from the hip methodology. That's how you get where you got. It's not going to get you to the next level. And when you are the business, when you are first starting out there, it is the shoot from the hip. Right before this, I do my live show, Experience Andy Weins Live, and in Experience Andy Weins Live, I talked about the 3R methodology, and so I'm going to use that here, which goes along with your system. So 3-step methodology is reflect, realize, regulate. Here's your
Mhm.
opportunity as a business owner. Reflect. What are the best things I've done? When I shot from the hip, when did it work? When didn't it work? Right? So you take the
Mhm.
time to reflect. Then you realize what's working and then regulate. So for you, it's like, okay, hold on. Uh, Furniture stores work. Regulate. Okay, I'm only going to service them. I'm only going to advertise them. I'm going to find how that or what that looks like. And so this is the opportunity you have as business owners. Shoot from the hip because you don't know shit. We've all been there. Once you
Yeah.
realize what works, regulate that. Develop the systems and the processes to make it thorough and repeatable. And then you can control your own destiny. Then you can control your own cash flow. Then you can be a business owner versus having the business own you. Because we got into entrepreneurship in the first place because we're generally unemployable people. unmanageable, right?
Yeah.
I've been like good. It takes a lot of work to not have a job. And
Yeah.
so you also can create a company where you are the business owner. The business doesn't own you when you develop systems. Again, save yourself some time, energy, money. So I really do appreciate you, Dan. Any last final words for our listeners here today?
Hey, I appreciate all you guys watching. If you have any questions or thoughts or anything, I post everything all over social media: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, everything. It's all Dan's Holloway right here. Make sure to like and follow if you want to see more about what we do.
All right. Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you for the time. Thank you for your continued support being on the show. I see you commenting from time to time. And again, Dan's proof of concept, how simple it is to come on the show, be a member of this community that we're creating, and also give value. This conversation went well because he's running a great business, and we were able to talk through what he's working. My challenge to you guys is take what he's doing and implement it in your own business. Again, when you steal from one person, it's called plagiarism. When you steal from everybody, it's called research, and that is a stolen line. All right, coming up on the show, Dan, actually stick around after the show just so we can, after the outro, make sure everything uploads right. I forget to mention that from time to time, and then that ends up being a problem. All right, next week, we are going back to our 1600 time, 4 p.m. for my civilian Central Standard Time. We're playing with the time. I do some at 10, I do 11, noon. Really figuring out what works best for us here at Camo Crew, and also the energy and all that stuff. So we're playing around with the time. So appreciate the people that came along here today at noon, oddball time for us. Next week, 1600, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, Jake Still from Junk Rescue. He was recommended by 2 different people, and so we're going to have Jake on. He's built a pretty good operation. Him and I connected on LinkedIn and Facebook. He's excited to share what has been, I think, his 10 plus years in the industry. So again, as we start to wrap up season 3, really focusing on the people that have been successful in this industry, and as I get into season 4. Of the podcast, I'm really going to focus on what we're doing right here at Camo Crew Responsible Junk Removal, and also the associations and memberships that we are part of that have built us to be this professional, responsible organization. So those are the people that we're looking for on the show coming into season 4. So if there's associations or memberships, people that that are impacting this entire industry, that's what I really want to focus our efforts on this next season. And of course, I'm going to continue to have junk removal operators on the show. As we develop that professional mindset, almost 150 episodes into this thing, we're starting to get a little traction. We're starting to gain a real understanding of how we can serve this great industry that we are all part of. So that's my thanks. That's my plug, trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com to be a guest. Shoot me message, Facebook, LinkedIn, email, whatever, hell, text message. My phone number is relatively available for people that you want on the show, or make introductions for people that you want on the show to us directly. And they'll find Taylor, and then Taylor will press the buttons, and people like Dan end up on the show. So with that, I'm Andy Weins with Camo Crew Responsible Junk Removal. That is Dan from Dan's Holloway, and Taylor, our producer. Thank you again for joining us. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tap subscribe or follow to get the latest episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review and tell a friend to listen. To learn more, visit trashtalkbusinesspodcast.com. Bye now.